Hey everybody, I'm going to be showing you how to use Azure Policy to enforce tagging across your Azure environment. And this is one thing I highly recommend that all Azure environments do, because tagging can help you categorize things a lot easier, especially when it comes down to billing. Yeah, let's just dive right in and let me show you how you can do this. So what you want to do is you want to go in the search, type in policy, search for the policy. The good thing about Azure is that they already have a bunch of pre-made policies. So what you want to do is you want to go to assignments. You're going to do assign policy. And in the scope, you're going to select your scope. So you could apply it to a subscription. If you got multiple, obviously you're going to see a drop down full of subscriptions. And optionally, you could apply it only to a specific resource group if that's what you want to do. In this instance, I want to do it to the subscription. So I select the subscription. And then you can exclude certain things from here as well. So you could apply to this whole subscription and then exclude a specific resource group if that's what you'd like to do. But for this instance and this tutorial, I'm just going to leave it as there. And in the policy definition, you can select a whole bunch of pre-made policies. And what you're going to do is search for tagging, because Azure already has one made for you. And here you go, require a tag on resources, require a tag on resource groups. You could require a tag and its value. Here we're going to do require a tag. You're going to click add. And then your versions right here. I'm going to require a created by tag on resources. Requires the user to create a tag. To trace ownership. Now, after you've got a little description, you don't have to do it like this. I'm just doing it for demo purposes, but what I'm trying to do, hypothetically, is create a created by tag that makes people basically put their name on resources when they're creating it. So when I'm trying to audit expenses in Azure, I can say, okay, it looks like this resource was created by so-and-so. Let me ask him if we really need that, right? Because I'm sure if you've ever worked with Azure, you come across a lot of orphaned resources where you can't really tell who created it or what it's for, and can you delete it, right? Because a lot of times you just want to delete stuff and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen if I delete it. Maybe you delete it and then something in production breaks. So having this created by tag would allow you to trace down who created this in the first place, and then you can make a better decision off that. That's the reason behind the created by tag. So in here you're going to go next. And the tag name is going to be created by. Next. And here you can do remediation, which would basically mean that this policy is going to apply to already existing resources. Now, I'm not going to do this for this tutorial because that's not the purpose of this tutorial, but technically with this, as we're doing it right now, this is not going to affect already existing resources. A remediation would make it apply to already existing resources. However, this created by would not really make sense, because what am I going to do? Say everything was created by me, right? Now, depending on the tag that you're doing, it could make sense. For example, let's say, I say require an environment tag, staging, development, production. The parameter is environment. You could, and then you go back to the enforce a tag and its value. Let's say you got one subscription that's production, one subscription that's development, one subscription that's staging. You could set the tag name to the environment and then the value to staging, and then you could apply the staging tag to the entire staging subscription, right? So it would make sense to use a remediation here. However, in this scenario, I would say no. So, it's pretty useful for a lot of things, but not in this case. Depending on the tag, again, it depends on the type of tag you want to put out, and this is created by. So we're going to skip remediation, non-compliance. I highly recommend you put something actually useful in here, because from now on, after you deploy this policy and it's going into effect, when somebody tries to create a resource, it's going to say you can't do it, but it's not going to give you really any details on why. So that's not really helpful if you're trying to get people to start doing this. I highly recommend you add a descriptive message and how to make it work, because otherwise people are just going to get an error saying that it doesn't work. and it's not really descriptive if you know Azure errors. So you could put something descriptive, and there we go. And then I'm gonna click create. And as you can see, it says that the assignment does take 5 to 15 minutes. So if you've been waiting 10 minutes, wait up to 15. Usually it's pretty fast, but yeah, just take that into account. We'll come back when it's done and deploying. So let's go ahead and test if this policy is actually working. I'm going to create a public IP address, test IP, and let's see what it does here. You see, I got a validation failed. Let's click the details. Disallowed by policy. Look at the raw error. It's going to say, was disallowed, the reason, this resource, obviously I didn't type in required, typo. This resource requires a created by tag to be filled out with your name. So then I could just go back. Put my name in here, or my email address, whatever. Now we can try it again. And now validation passed and I can create it. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more context on how to actually do this. And like I said, you can really do a lot with that because if you're inheriting a really crazy Azure environment, you can start applying tags everywhere and really enforcing it and basically just trying to get control of everything. So you can start doing environment tags, department tags, created by tags, service tags, right? Like what's hosted on that service. You know, maybe you got an app service plan. How do you know what's on there? Maybe it's an Apache server. Maybe you got some Linux weird cron job that you run, right? Start enforcing tags everywhere. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight on how to actually start changing some stuff with Azure Policy. And I'll see you guys on the next video.